Okay, so this is a shocking, true story from a software development project. And it all starts with something as simple as a cup of tea. But believe me, it pulls back the curtain on a massive, hidden problem that's happening all over the tech industry. This is really a story about how our workplaces can quietly fall apart right under our noses.
Just look at this, a cup of steaming hot tea, balanced on top of a live server. And no, this isn't some meme somebody staged for a photo. This was the actual, daily reality on one development site. It perfectly sets the stage for the kind of chaos that made a moment this dangerous feel, well, completely normal.
So how in the world does a team get to the point where putting tea on a server seems like a good idea? To understand that, we've got to look at the environment itself. Let's dig into the slow, quiet collapse of this workspace, a place that was teetering on the absolute brink. 80 centimeters. That's it. That was the entire amount of personal desk space each developer got. I mean, can you imagine trying to write complex code when you can hear every single keystroke from the person next to you like it's happening inside your own head? Deep, focused work becomes basically impossible. And that's not just uncomfortable, it's a direct path to burnout and critical mistakes in the code.
So this physical decay of the office, it had a direct impact on the actual work. Just like the slide says, meeting rooms got turned into other things, which meant critical design discussions were forced out into cramped hallways. And when you're trying to make complex decisions in a rushed, standing conversation, well, the quality of those decisions just plummets. The very infrastructure for communication was crumbling.
And this is where things get truly absurd. A rack-mounted server, a critical piece of equipment that's generating a ton of heat, became the go-to lunch table. This wasn't some one-time joke. It was a totally normalized, incredibly dangerous habit that was born out of a completely broken workspace. It's a recipe for disaster. By the way, if you find this kind of deep dive into what's really going on in the modern workplace valuable, a quick like and subscribe really helps us make more of these. Because, as you can probably imagine, it was only a matter of time before something went terribly wrong.
All right, and now we get to the climax of the story. This is the moment where that constant, nagging hypothetical risk finally boils over and becomes a very real and very wet disaster.
And then the news came. A colleague walked up to the author and just said, "They spilled tea on a server." The author's reaction wasn't laughter. It was this cold, sinking feeling. Because spilling liquid on live electronics isn't just a mess. We're talking a short circuit, total data loss, even a fire hazard. And in an environment like that one, he knew it could have been anyone. This wasn't just a clumsy mistake, it was an inevitability.
Now, this is where the story really pivots. It stops being about one spilled cup of tea and becomes a lens for us to see a much larger structural failure that's happening all over the IT industry. This wasn't just about one bad office. It was a symptom of a systemic problem.
So this slide really breaks it down. You can look at this problem in two ways. Was it just a single mistake, the fault of one person? Or was it a structural failure? The real problem wasn't the individual who spilled the tea, but the system that forced everyone to optimize while carrying risk, basically putting both people and equipment in an impossible situation just to get the job done.
And when you look at the real root causes here, it becomes so clear. We're talking exposed servers, no storage space, overcrowded desks, all of it driven by tight budgets and completely unrealistic deadlines. You can't fix this with a memo saying, "Hey, don't put drinks on the server." The very foundation of the workplace is what's creating the risk. Explaining these hard-to-break cycles is what we're all about here. So if that's valuable to you, subscribing is the best way to support our work. Click tag. Understanding this problem leads us to one final crucial question.
And that brings us to the most important point. This isn't just some wild story about a dysfunctional office. It's a direct challenge to how we all think about a buzzword we hear all the time: digital transformation, or DX.
See, most leaders think digital transformation just means buying new software or adopting the latest cloud services, but this story suggests a completely new definition. True transformation isn't about the digital tools you adopt, it's about redesigning the physical constraints of the workplace itself. You can't build a high-quality, stable digital product if the room you're building it in is literally falling apart. And this is the final takeaway. It's not just a funny story. It's a serious question for every single business leader. Can you truly deliver sustainable value when your teams are working right on the verge of collapse? The tea incident is a warning sign. So you have to ask yourself, what are you balancing on top of your company's most critical assets?